Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast. I'm Emma, and I'm here with Mike today. We're really excited to have you with us.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're diving into a topic that's super important for anyone who works in an office or business environment. If you've ever been in a business meeting and felt a little unsure about how to communicate your ideas, then this episode is definitely for you.
Exactly. So, have you ever felt overwhelmed in a business meeting, unsure how to articulate your ideas? Well, today we're going to help you with that. We'll show you how to communicate clearly and confidently in your next meeting so you can, really make an impact.
Yeah, today we'll cover the language and phrases you need to confidently participate in meetings, whether it's giving updates, asking questions, or making suggestions.
And if you're new to the podcast, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. So get comfy and let's dive in. Today, we are going to dive into our dialogue first, then point out those key phrases. Now let's listen to a business meeting in action between the manager Rachel and her team to provide updates.
All right, team, let's get started. I hope everyone has a copy of today's agenda.
Yes, ma'am. I have it right here.
Great. First on the agenda is a quick update on the project status. David, why don't you start?
Sure, ma'am. So, we've made good progress on the project. We've completed about 70% of the initial tasks, and we're on track to meet the deadline.
That's great to hear. What challenges are we facing, if any?
Well, there's one issue. We're waiting on some materials from the supplier, and it's delaying our timeline slightly. I propose that we find an alternative supplier to avoid further delays.
That's a solid suggestion, David. Let's brainstorm some other options. What do the rest of you think?
I think that's a good idea, but we should also consider the cost implications.
Definitely. I have some suggestions for a backup plan, and I can present the costs in the next meeting.
Sounds good. Let's make that an action item for next week's meeting. Anything else to discuss today?
Just one more thing, ma'am. I noticed a small gap in the team's communication. Maybe we should have weekly check-ins to ensure everyone's on the same page.
I agree. Let's add that to our agenda for next time. Any other suggestions before we wrap up?
No, that covers everything from my side, ma'am.
All right, to summarize, David will check with alternative suppliers and we'll set up weekly check-ins. I'll make sure the minutes are sent out and the action items are clear.
Got it. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, for your input today. Let's reconvene next week, same time.
All right, let's go over some key words and phrases from the meeting. Our first word is agenda. Emma, what is an agenda?
An agenda is a list of topics or items to be discussed during a meeting. It helps keep everything organized and ensures that the meeting stays on track.
Great. Next, we have progress. Emma, what does progress mean in a meeting context?
Progress refers to how much has been completed or moved forward in a project or task. When David says they've made good progress, he means they're moving ahead toward completing the project.
Perfect. The next word is propose. Emma, what does it mean to propose something?
To propose means to suggest an idea or plan for consideration. David proposed finding an alternative supplier to solve the delay, which means he's suggesting a solution.
Exactly. Now, let's look at ideas. Emma, what does ideas mean here?
Ideas are thoughts or concepts that are put forward. They're potential solutions or ways to address a problem. In the meeting, David mentioned having ideas for a backup plan.
Right. Next up is suggestions. What are suggestions, Emma?
Suggestions are more specific recommendations or advice for action. While ideas can be more general, suggestions are often actionable proposals, like the suggestion to consider the cost implications of switching suppliers.
Good. Now, we've got the word challenge. Emma, what does challenge mean?
A challenge refers to a difficulty or obstacle that makes achieving a goal harder. In this case, the delay from the supplier is a challenge David is dealing with.
Exactly. Moving on to action items.
Action items are tasks that are assigned during a meeting that need to be completed after the meeting. They're specific things that have to be followed up on, like David checking with alternative suppliers.
Perfect. And last but not least, we have minutes. Emma, what are minutes?
Minutes are the official written record of what was discussed in the meeting. They summarize the key points, decisions made, and any action items that need to be followed up on. We're going to listen to the meeting again so that we can understand these phrases further.
All right, team, let's get started. I hope everyone has a copy of today's agenda.
Yes, ma'am. I have it right here.
Great. First on the agenda is a quick update on the project status. David, why don't you start?
Sure, ma'am. So, we've made good progress on the project. We've completed about 70% of the initial tasks, and we're on track to meet the deadline.
That's great to hear. What challenges are we facing, if any?
Well, there's one issue. We're waiting on some materials from the supplier, and it's delaying our timeline slightly. I propose that we find an alternative supplier to avoid further delays.
That's a solid suggestion, David. Let's brainstorm some other options. What do the rest of you think?
I think that's a good idea, but we should also consider the cost implications.
Definitely. I have some suggestions for a backup plan, and I can present the costs in the next meeting.
Sounds good. Let's make that an action item for next week's meeting. Anything else to discuss today?
Just one more thing, ma'am. I noticed a small gap in the team's communication. Maybe we should have weekly check-ins to ensure everyone's on the same page.
I agree. Let's add that to our agenda for next time. Any other suggestions before we wrap up?
No, that covers everything from my side, ma'am.
All right, to summarize, David will check with alternative suppliers and we'll set up weekly check-ins. I'll make sure the minutes are sent out and the action items are clear.
Got it. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone, for your input today. Let's reconvene next week, same time.
Tips for participating in meetings confidently.
Now that we've covered some of the key words, let's move on to some tips for participating confidently in meetings.
Yep. These tips will help you prepare and feel more comfortable in any meeting. First up, prepare in advance.
Exactly. Before the meeting, make sure you review the agenda. Knowing what topics will be discussed helps you get your thoughts organized and ensures you're ready to contribute when needed.
That's right. The next tip is, listen actively. Pay attention to what others are saying and don't just wait for your turn to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Listening carefully helps you understand the conversation and, lets you contribute meaningfully when it's your time. You don't want to just jump in with a response that doesn't fit.
And then, when it's your turn to speak, make sure to speak clearly and concisely. Use simple, direct language to get your point across quickly.
Yep. No need to over-explain things. Just make sure you're clear and to the point. You want to keep the meeting moving, right?
Definitely. And the last tip is to follow up after the meeting. It's really important to send an email or message to confirm the action items or to clarify anything that needs to be done.
Exactly. Following up helps ensure things don't get lost after the meeting. It's a great way to show that you're on top of your responsibilities.
Tip of the day.
All right, listeners, our tip of the day is preparation.
That's right, Mike. Preparation is key to feeling confident and making valuable contributions. It's about more than just showing up. It's about being ready to engage and make an impact.
Exactly. When you're well prepared, whether by reviewing the agenda, organizing your thoughts, or gathering relevant materials, you're setting yourself up to speak clearly and contribute meaningfully.
So, before your next meeting, take a few minutes to prepare. Look over the agenda. Think about what you want to say, and gather any necessary documents.
That's a great tip, Emma. A little preparation can go a long way in making your meetings more productive and less stressful.
Audio recap. Key phrases in sentences. Agenda. A list of topics or items to be discussed during a meeting. Example. Please make sure you have a copy of the agenda before the meeting starts. Minutes. The official written record of what was discussed and decided during a meeting. Example. I'll send out the meeting minutes after we finish. Action items. These are specific tasks assigned during the meeting that need to be completed afterward. Example. We need to follow up on the action items from last week's meeting. Proposal. A plan or a suggestion put forward for consideration. Example. I'd like to propose a new strategy for the marketing campaign. Consensus. A general agreement among all members. Example. We need to reach a consensus on the budget before we proceed. Discussion. An exchange of ideas or information. Example. The meeting will begin with a discussion on project updates. Progress. The forward movement or improvement in a project or task. Example. We've made good progress on the project. Feedback. These are comments or reactions to a proposal, idea, or performance. Example. I'd appreciate your feedback on the proposal I shared last week. Decision. A conclusion reached after considering options. Example. We need to make a decision on which supplier to choose. Follow-up. These are actions taken after the meeting to ensure tasks are completed or questions are addressed. Example. I will follow up with everyone on their assigned tasks. Brainstorming. A group discussion to generate ideas or solve problems. Example. Let's do some brainstorming on new product ideas. Propose. This means to suggest an idea or plan for consideration. Example. I propose that we find an alternative supplier. Ideas. These are thoughts or concepts put forward for consideration or discussion. Example. I have some ideas for a backup plan. Suggestions. These are recommendations or advice offered to improve a situation. Example. Does anyone have suggestions on how we can streamline this process? Challenge. A difficulty or obstacle that needs to be addressed. Example. We're facing a challenge with a supplier delay.
All right, let's quickly recap what we've covered today.
First, we discussed key words and phrases you'll hear in business meetings, like agenda, progress, propose, and suggestions. These are crucial for keeping the meeting organized and helping you contribute effectively.
Then we shared some tips for participating in meetings confidently. Prepare in advance, listen actively, speak clearly, and follow up afterward to make sure everything stays on track.
And of course, our tip of the day, preparation. It's the key to feeling confident and contributing meaningfully in meetings. Spend some time before each meeting to get ready, and you'll be able to jump in with ease.
Exactly. So whether you're giving updates, asking questions, or making suggestions, preparation will help you make the most out of every meeting.
If you found this episode helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit.
Most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.